Alright, today in Any Given Garage, we're going to start putting the Toyota back together. We're going to get the upper control arms on, hopefully the lower control arms on, and maybe get the whole hub assembly back together and in the truck. Let's go. Okay, so I'm going to try to put the bushings in now, back in this upper control arm. So I've got a couple of pieces out of that ball joint removal kit. It's sitting a little wonky right now. I don't have a lot of pressure because it started going. Yeah, we're going to try to press these in. I kind of cleaned up some of those areas that I messed it up before. Figure if I'm going to screw it up some more, let's screw it up now. That way I don't have to paint it a third time. Get this centered up as I can. Probably going to have to hold it there. So far this is pressing in with very little resistance. Now it's starting to get a little tighter, which I think is a good thing. I don't want to press this quite all the way down. I want to leave a little bit of a gap like there was before. We're going to go right there. All right. There you have it. The 3rd gen 4Runner upper control arm bushing. Fits 1st gen Tacoma, 01-ish. 4-wheel drive, not the pre-runner, just a base model, I think. Yep. Cool. Let's try the other side and see what happens. I think it went that way. Yeah, that looks right. That would make the ball joint relatively level. All right. So I've got a little bit of a gap, maybe 2 millimeters-ish or so on either side here. So I'm going to try to press both of them in just a little bit more each. I might just end up doing one side, not the other. Let's give that a shot, see what happens. All right, so I just pushed on the one side and it kind of gave like a lot. So you can see the gap here. It was about even on this one. Now it's a little less. Let's see how it fits in here. Oh, we're okay. Still got just a little gap. I'm going to press this one in a skosh now. Try to keep them relatively even. And then we'll try it again. And just like that, that one's pressed in. That one's pressed in. Fingers crossed. It's not too much. All right. We've got, I don't know, maybe a millimeter or so. Basically, there's enough that I could press one of these all the way in, I think. But I think I'm going to leave just that little bit. So when the bolt goes through and gets tightened down, it'll squeeze on those a little bit, but not too much. I think we're set to put this aside so I can get a little more paint on her. Hopefully this being just slightly off center will make it still enough that that more narrow part of the bushing will fit down in there. Here goes nothing. So far, so good. Try to do this the best I can without scratching up my super fancy spray paint job. This side fits much better, I think. Still like a hair crooked. There we go. But I think this side's a little better. Lefty loosey, that helps a little bit. Oh yeah, way better. Might have put a little bit around on that flange, but I don't think that's too bad. But there we go. Nice painted up. Bushing installed lower control arm. Now I'll take the rest of the paint off, or the tape off, and then we just got to put that ball joint in. This bad boy's ready to go back in the truck. Well, we've got the fender off the Toyota now. And you can see all the damage in here, how it's dented. This is pretty bad. That, I mean, we're not terribly worried about the paint. I'll try to touch that up. But just how mangled this whole piece is. You can see in here, like I'm pretty sure this tab is supposed to be sticking mostly straight out like that tab. Because that's where like the fender liner and stuff attaches. So we're gonna try to straighten all this out at least the best we can, and get it back on the truck. Worst case, if it doesn't work, I think a reman is like 60 or 80 bucks. A little bit of paint would be good enough. It's just our kind of cruising around truck, and it's like 25 years old, but I want to keep it as nice as I can. So yeah, I'm gonna start out. I've got one of the the bags for metal shaping stuff, but to try to kind of protect the rest of the panel, I just got this dog bed here. Since, you know, like the workbench over here is covered in junk, the workbench over there is covered in junk. So I have this nice big concrete workbench today that we're gonna work on and try to get this as straight as we can, so at least we can get back on the truck. Because it was having problems with down here especially, and kind of up in here, the door rubbing against it, so we couldn't even open the driver's side door. So I'm gonna start trying to bash that out, straighten it out somewhat, and we'll see how it goes. My skill level, these might just end up being what they be. remember how I got this out of here yesterday. I didn't take the bumper all the way off like I probably should have. So here's our Toyota Fender. It's not perfect. Like down here is not totally great. It doesn't really follow kind of the indent of the body and the door here all that well, but it's pretty decent. I kind of messed up here because I didn't realize that this indent is actually part of the body line, so I was trying to smash that out from the backside. So that's just going to be what it is. Really can't get perfect here with the tools that I have without probably destroying the paint even worse than it is. But ultimately, from a distance, that looks fairly decent. Right, it fits. The most important thing is now the door opens. While it gets a little tight, a little tighter than I like down here, it's still not terrible. So I think we're just gonna run with that. You see, we got some stuff painted up down here. So we're ready to start putting this lower end back together. So the last thing is that steering linkage there. I'm gonna replace this, even though that bushing ball joint thing is probably mostly okay. Got a whole new piece here. And then the bushings that are actually in the steering rack, we're gonna replace. I'm trying to make this so y'all can see this all right. So we're down here working on the bushings on the steering rack. Right, and I got the old bushing out here. Actually, I got all three of them out or off. That one's off. This one down here is out. And it's actually really easy. So we got all our old bushings down here. This one was the hardest one. All right, that's this guy here. And it would have been in there. But you can see the metal bushing, or the metal sleeve inside the rubber bushing. And you can actually feel, or at least I could with mine, it was almost loose by hand, but I couldn't quite press it out. So just a long socket so I didn't smash my fingers. All right, long socket on the metal. Then you take the hammer and bash it through. Actually, it didn't take that much force to kind of push it out. The only trouble you kind of run into is there's limited space here. So once the bushing was far enough out, it hit here, and I couldn't hammer it anymore. I was actually able to grab a hold of it and just pull it out by hand. This one down here, which would be this little guy, right? Again, I could feel it was almost loose in there. So I just took that socket and drove it up and through that hole, and it popped out. And then that one just slides off, right? Because it's this U thingamajigger and that guy there. So now we're going to take our new energy suspension polyurethane stuff, and we're going to put that in here. And yeah, our suspension should be relatively done. I'm still going to have it disconnected because in order to get that lower control arm bolt out, this needs to be able to move out of the way. So it needs to be loose and be able to move. So we're not going to put it all the way back on, but we're at least going to have the new bushings in it, so that'll be nice. And here we are. Brand new bushings installed. That one was obviously the easiest because it just slides on there. But even these guys, because it's 3 pieces, it's the 2 rubber sleeves, or the rubber bushings, or polyurethane bushings, whatever they are. And then the metal sleeve. And I could actually put all this in just by hand. Just press the bushings in, started pressing the sleeve through. But both this one and this guy down here, once I got close with the sleeve going into the second bushing, I just had to take the hammer and tap it a few times, and there we are. We got something done today. Yay! All right, make sure this hasn't changed exponentially. Why is this not fitting? Like at all. That's super not good. No, that will probably make a difference. Okay. That'll hang out. Oh, we got brand new, these cams. I didn't get new bolts because the old bolts actually cleaned up pretty nice. What we are going to do before we install these, slather these guys in some anti-seize. In hopes that in the future, if for some reason I have to take this apart, this won't be rusted in there again like it was this time. third one's gonna be fun. So we're probably also gonna have to move the power steering stuff out of the way. New bushings are a tight fit. Anti-seize these guys too in the hopes that they'll come out the next time I do this. These cam bolts still have a lot of play in them. I've got some marks that I made that I then painted over. We'll try to get our alignment as close as we can before the final assembly and tightening. All right, lower one's on, sort of snug. Let's see if we can get this top one back in, shall we? All right, here we go with this upper control arm. I'm gonna put it in here. Now I've sort of pre-positioned my bolt, it's just sitting on top of this little plastic thing so I can try to get to it. Because I am not quite lanky enough to hold the control arm and reach around the fender to get to that bolt. So I've got it just kind of pre-positioned in here. And we're gonna see if that works. For getting that in there. Oh, I kind of got the angle of the dangle. It's working, sort of. Okay. And before I get too much further, well, so I'm torn. I want to put some anti-seize on that bolt, but this is very difficult to do one-handed, one person. So let's back this back out till it's just the threads showing. Hopefully that'll stay. I can anti-seize that and then put it back. All right, so you can kind of see we've got some anti-seize on the bolt here. I tried to fall. There's no way this is gonna happen without making a gigantic mess, but it is what it is. We're running into a couple of problems up here. I had to take this airbag sensor off of here, but now we're getting stuck on that bracket that we kind of cleared before. I think I need to pull the bolt back out, pivot it, get that washer underneath, and then everything should be okay. Most of that anti-seize kind of worn off, but it'll be all right. little be better than none. All right, so we got the bolt in there, upper control arm on. Now these washers, don't fall down. These washers have a little, like a depression and a sticking outside. It's kind of concave or convex, depending on how you look at it. We want the side that sticks out, right? That side that sticks out versus in, that's the side we want against the bushing, because this piece actually goes in just a skosh and hits the metal sleeve, so the rubber doesn't sit up against the bushing, and we're not tightening the rubber, we're tightening the sleeves. You can kind of see on this one here, there's that gap. That's what we want. All right. And just like that, we have control arms back in the Toyota. So I think the next step is going to be to get that whole hub assembly put together with the upper and lower ball joints, and then put that in. Maybe do the shock first. The shock might be next. We're going to experiment, find out. And then we'll do it again, because it'll be wrong whichever way I try first. Let's go. Alrighty, so here is our wonderful hub assembly thing, all freshly painted. So, we've got our lower ball joint here. I messed up the paint. Alright, this will be the whole lower ball joint assembly that bolts on down here. That way, I don't know, we'll figure that out. Bolts for that. Before I put that on, I want to press in the new upper ball joint here. So let me find one of those. There we go. So this guy comes with a few different pieces, little directions. Nice. So we need to press this guy through here, put on this C-clip, and then this boot. But first we fill the boot with some grease that it comes with. Take the wire the boot on, and then we should be ready to do the lower one and go put it in the truck. I feel like this should not be this difficult. This thing again. Knew I shouldn't have put this on yet. All right, moment of truth. Did I destroy anything? Da-da-da-da. Maybe not. So there. It's a nice brand new ball joint. Mounted somewhat correctly, maybe. Based on these here instructions, it says we fill this shaded area here with the blue grease and this area here with the kind of clear white grease. And if you can't read this, we go to the English side. And it says the blue grease and the transparent grease. All right, so we got our boot all greased up. So the transparent bag had kind of this yellowish color grease, and the blue bag had the more white transparent grease, I guess. Now let's see if we can get this on that ball joint stud without too many problems. Another thing, I'm sorry if the audio's not fantastic as of recently. I upgraded the phone that I used to film with because the old one, the battery was dying, didn't have great storage. So this one's better, but it's got the new USB-C, whereas the other one was a Lightning, so my microphone doesn't work with this phone. So right now we're just getting phone audio. All right, lower ball joint time. This one doesn't come with the directions, but it should be relatively simple there. Famous last words, I'm gonna regret those. It's not gonna be good. All right, time for new shocks. Everybody say it with me. Ooh. Oh, wait. Ah. Oh, yeah. That's purty. So this is what we've got for new shocks for the Toyota. Just some basic Bilsteins, but I ordered the ones that came pre-put together. It's a little more expensive, however, significantly more likely to keep all my teeth. So that's what we got. Oh, really rubber gasket. There we go. Just gonna get these guys started, so they'll stay in. Viola, where'd my big bolt go? Lost it. There it is. I guess that's not super important since the upper control arm can move. I think I can go ahead and tighten the shock, more or less. But we'll leave it semi-loose for now with a little play till we get that all on and we just tighten everything all together. Okie dokie. So we're going to work on replacing this chunk of steering arm here, push tie rod thing. Yeah, we're going to change that out. I don't know if that's totally wasted or not. But since the ball joints decided to leave the chat, we're going to change this one out just in case, because we've got a new one. All right, new guy. Got the same L on it that this one does here on the top for the left. And I checked the other one, it does not have the L. And the shapes line up, vice versa, the right ways. So, figure it out. First thing I want to do is I want to see how far this is set out. So I'm going to have to get the alignment close so that I can get it to the alignment shop. So right here from this boot, we're looking at just about 8 1/4 to the more or less the center here. Yeah, right about 8 1/4. All right, let's see how close we are getting. Not even. Aha! There we go. That's all the way in. Seems okie dokie. Only a little blood. All right. Fingers crossed this end is right with this end. Oh, grease all over. Violar. All right, this upper ball joint cowsel nut, I think it's supposed to be at about 80. This lower guy, I'm gonna go, I think it's 105. Foot-pounds. Over 59. 59. Random. All right, say this out loud again to myself, so hopefully I can remember. 87 for this upper control arm bolt. 101 for the lower shock bolt. And 96 for the lower control arm cams. 87, 101, 96. Maybe I can remember that. To the nut and the bolt for the lower shock mount, easier before the axle. BT dubs. 22. Yay, 22. What'd I say? 67? 70, 67. Okay. So now that we're done with lunch, we're going to take apart the passenger side. Yeah, left, right, because I was inverted. Passenger side. out of the truck and yeah, start working on this side. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. It's pretty windy today with this new microphone floofer thing. Hopefully that helps. If not, there'll be music or something. Alrighty, y'all. We got that nut on there. Took a couple of stores, but we finally got that 35 millimeter socket. So if you guys are looking for a 35 millimeter socket to put on an axle nut, if you get a, look at that right there, axle nut 35 millimeter chromoly socket. If you go to the auto parts store, it's a little easier than going to 3 hardware stores. Not understanding why they don't have it. Finally getting on the internet and going, oh, could have just gone to the auto parts store down the street. We got that torqued down to the 173 foot-pounds. Now we just put this little guy on here, get her lined up. Beauty. Drop that guy in. And now we'll get that cotter pin in. And this side should be just about done. Can put the hub back on. Brakes. Sorry, that is the hub. Put the rotor on. Brake caliper. Everything's tight. That one's tight, torqued. Cotter pinned. Everything up here is torqued. All this is torqued, looking good. That brand new axle looks great. Everything down here is good to go. So yeah, this side's basically done. Let's get back to taking apart the other side. Alrighty, y'all. Here's what we got yesterday. All taken apart up here. Got that shock strut combo thingamajigger out. Brakes are off. It's all undone. Just need to pop that steering arm out of the hub bracket thing here. This is going to be fun. So it would seem that that bolt down there had been loose for quite a long time. And yeah, I don't think it's supposed to do that. So that's going to be a fun repair. But once we get that guy knocked out, loosen that bad boy, all the rest of this will be ready to come off. Undo the control arms, clean them up, paint them. Maybe clean up down here a little bit, paint that, and then yeah, hopefully this will go a lot quicker than the other side. Got that nut loose. All it took was the air compressor and the air gun. Turned up a little higher than it's supposed to be, but knocked it loose. Alrighty, well, got that axle covered up, a couple of bags taped on there, wired up out of the way. First I kind of hid all this with the wire wheel as best I could for where it is. It's grungy, but we'll get to hit it with a little coat of paint just to try to help keep protecting it a little bit longer. But got that upper control arm out, so now I can move on to this lower control arm. And if I can get the camera in here. No, it's dark. Alright, anyhow, I don't know if you guys can see that. There's a couple of little scratches where the cams line up. You can kind of see one right there, sort of in the middle. Since I'm gonna end up painting down here eventually, figured a little bit of a scratch I would be able to see to put it back together. So yeah, that's where we're going next. All right, guys, I want to stop here for just a minute. I want to explain, I made a pretty big mistake when it came to taking the bushings out of the passenger side lower control arm. I did the same method I did before, where I put the bottle jack in between, the kind of the twisty bottle jack out of my truck. And what I didn't realize was happening is it was spreading the A-arms, and they ended up being much more of a V than like an A. I used a shot press. I did some stuff to fix that. I'm going to put that in a separate video just because this one's already running long with just the rebuild. And that one I want to be able to kind of show what happened and how I fixed it and how we're going to run the Toyota and hope it works. So check that out. Now we're going to continue on with just putting the truck back together. All right, y'all, here we are, all nice and cleaned up. Brand new rotors, new pads, brand new shock, strut, coilover thing, all new ball joints. It's all painted up to look pretty, even though not all of it's new. Everything's back on except for the wheels and tires and the fender flare on this side. Waiting on the little weather strip rubber that goes between the fender flare and the body. So this guy here, waiting on that. Come in the mail. This side's all done and buttoned up. Here we are back on all four wheels. That fender looks pretty good, considering it was done on a dog bed on the floor of the garage. Everything rides real nice. We even got back here, we got some new Bilstein shocks back here, make the ride so much better. But we are done with this bad boy. So we'll see you next time in any given garage.